closing the show, nor will Charlotte Flair. And I do think it's time we have a conversation about changing what the winner of the Royal Rumble gets. Because this is not the first time the person who wins the Royal Rumble does not actually close the show at WrestleMania, but this is the first time since they started having 2 Rumbles and they moved to the 2-night format that neither winner is closing out night 1 or night 2. And I think it's time that they amend things by stating that the winner of the Royal Rumble gets a guaranteed championship match at WrestleMania and leave out the main event part going forward. Like, that worked for many years. I know that was a big part of the attraction of winning the Royal Rumble. Things have changed. And you and I both know, if you are not closing the show at WrestleMania, you are not really the main event. They've had quote-unquote main events and Royal Rumble winners open the fucking show. On what planet is that a main event? All right, but they've gotten away with it for many years. You and I both know it's bullshit, and the way people look at it is whatever match closes the show, that is the main event on that particular night. And I feel like we go through this every other year. How come the winner of the Royal Rumble isn't headlining Mania? They said the winner goes to the main event. The main event isn't the opener. The main event isn't the night 1 main event. It's the night 2 main event, right? We go through this all the time. This can all be avoided by simply not saying that anymore. It's enough to say that the winner gets a world title match against the champion of their choosing at WrestleMania. That's a pretty big deal. And just leave it at that. Full stop. Because it is just not accurate to say it any other way. They could even use this on Raw tomorrow. Have Gunther be upset about how the World Heavyweight Championship is not being defended in the main event, and it's all Jey Uso's fault. Put this all on him. Right? It just proves what I've been saying all along, that Jey isn't at my level, and now he's bringing me down to his. Right? Now Jey has dragged Gunther down, and so he takes it out on Jimmy, which is how we end up with Gunther destroying Jimmy tomorrow, because the two of them are having a match. I would lean into it. Use the main event stuff to play off of Gunther's anger. Right? What should have been his first WrestleMania main event has been taken away from him thanks to Jey Uso. Now, the other news coming out of SmackDown is that matches are now being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. They are billing them as immortal moments. And I don't know if that means it's going to be limited to only WrestleMania matches, since WrestleMania is the showcase of the immortals, or if all matches are eligible. But this is actually an idea that I was asked about once before on the podcast many years ago in the mailbag, and I thought it was silly. And I still think it's pretty silly, because now you're going to end up with people being inducted into the Hall of Fame 5 or 10 times. But I get why they're doing it. It's a good way to bring some of the big names back for the ceremony so they could sell tickets. Case in point, first match being inducted as part of the ceremony on April 18th is the submission match from WrestleMania 13 between Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And they announced both Bret and Stone Cold will be in attendance for the ceremony. And I know there's been talk of Ken Shamrock maybe being inducted this year. If he doesn't get inducted, they should have him do the induction for this, since he was the guest referee for that match. I mean, truly, I was going to sit here and say, well, one of the greatest matches of all time. But fuck it, I'll say it. The greatest match in WWE history. When you take into account the quality of the match itself and the rivalry between those two coming into it, and you combine that with the historical significance of that match, the greatest double turn of all time, and the impact that it had on the career of Steve Austin, right? There is no Stone Cold Steve Austin without Bret Hart and without that match. The blood, the iconic shot of the blood dripping down Austin's face as he tries to fight out of the sharpshooter. Bret going back after him when the match was over. Shamrock with the waistlock takedown out of his boots. I mean, he got Bret Hart way up in the air. Austin then refusing help, gets to his feet all by himself. He leaves to cheers after entering to boos. People talk about Austin 316, right, in the speech at the King of the Ring. It was this match. This match is what set him on his way to what he would become, and what he would become is one of the biggest stars in the history of the business. And it's also a match that has incredible replay value. I can pick up with it anytime and never get bored with it. I mean, it's everything I love about pro wrestling. And I believe it is the greatest match in the history of that company. In maybe the most important year in the history of the company, because that was the turning point for them. People don't realize how close they came to bankruptcy. But they pulled out of it, and the creative had a lot to do with that. That year gave us this match. It gave us the first Hell in a Cell with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. It gave us the debut of Kane. It gave us the Montreal Screwjob, which gave us the birth of Mr. McMahon. It gave us the rise of The Rock. It gave us a lot of different things. It was such a huge year. So it's a well-deserved choice. And if Hogan wasn't such a fuck-up and a shitty person, I guarantee you Hogan against Andre at WrestleMania 3 would have been the first match inducted. And it would have been appropriate, too. The man who those first 7 or 8 WrestleManias were built around. The name most synonymous with WrestleMania. But he has so badly tarnished his legacy, they can't even celebrate him in the way that they would like to, because he's so toxic right now. Especially after that reaction on the Netflix premiere. There was no way any match with him in it was going to be the first one going in this year. Hogan versus Andre will go in one day. There's no denying how iconic that match is. As is Randy Savage against Ricky Steamboat. I just watched that match again the other day. It's so fucking good. The pace that they were working at. You just didn't see matches like that back then. Not in WWE, you didn't. The first Hell in a Cell. The ladder match from WrestleMania 10. Undertaker and Mankind Hell in a Cell. John Cena against CM Punk in Money in the Bank 2011. Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker from WrestleMania 25. I mean, we could be here all day. They're going to have to induct 2 or 3 matches a year. Otherwise, you'll never get to all of them. But Bret Hart becomes the first ever 3-time WWE Hall of Famer with this induction. And I would say, given how many classic matches he's had, he may become the first 10 or 15-time Hall of Famer when all is said and done. He'll have more rings than Brady does. He'll have more rings than he's got fingers on his hands. But I do wonder if this might replace the annual celebrity inductee, because they still haven't announced one yet. But there's still a few weeks left, so we'll know soon enough.
Athletes don't take days off. Neither does DraftKings.